I'm Danielle. 3 months have passed since that fateful day, and my flower business is booming. The stall at the San Francisco Flower Mart has been repossessed, my parents have moved out, and my sister-in-law's influencer career has crumbled after her criminal charge. Justice, for me, wasn't about their downfall. It was about my growth. It all started on a cold morning at 4:30 in the freezing warehouse of the San Francisco Flower Mart. My sister-in-law, Lily, a self-centered 28-year-old, was on a rampage. Her husband, my brother Ethan, a 30-year-old with a penchant for easy money, stood beside her, phone in hand, filming. Lily was swinging a hammer at a vase of rare Ecuadorian orchids. The air was filled with the smell of wet earth, diesel fumes, and the sharp scent of crushed stems. "You think you're better than us just because you sell flowers?" Lily screamed, her face contorted under the harsh industrial lights. "Give me the $25,000 for my plastic surgery, Danielle, or I'll break everything you own." She raised the hammer again, aiming at a bucket of white hydrangeas. I looked at the $8,000 worth of destroyed inventory at my feet. My hands were steady, and my pulse was slow. I reached into my back pocket and felt the cold edge of my wholesale badge, the key to my business. Lily stopped screaming for a moment when she saw me pull out my phone. "Who are you calling? Mom? She'll tell you to stop being selfish and give me the money," she spat. Ethan laughed and panned the camera towards me. "Yeah, call Mom, Danielle. Tell her how you're hoarding the family fortune while Lily is suffering." I ignored them and tapped 911 on my phone. "Police, I'd like to report a felony vandalism in progress at the San Francisco Flower Mart, stall 42. I said in a flat, calm voice. Lily froze, and the hammer dropped an inch. "What are you doing?" she asked. I continued. "The perpetrator is still on the scene. She's armed with a hammer and has destroyed inventory worth about $8,000, well over the felony threshold in California." Ethan shouted, "You're calling the cops?" "She's family." But I told the dispatcher, "She's an intruder. I'm the owner of the business, and I want to press charges immediately." The silence in the warehouse was heavy. Lily thought I was bluffing. "You wouldn't arrest your brother's wife. Mom would kill you," she sneered, though her voice wavered. I told her the police were 3 minutes away and suggested she put down the hammer. Panic flashed in her eyes, and she dropped the hammer, grabbed her purse, and said, "Let's go, Ethan. She's crazy." I rolled a heavy steel hand truck in front of the exit and locked the wheels. "You're not going anywhere," I said. Ethan stepped towards me, looking big and threatening. "Get out of the way," he yelled. But I stood my ground. When the police arrived, Lily tried to turn on the tears, wailing about a misunderstanding. But the officers looked at the shattered glass, the hammer on the floor, and then at me. "Is this the woman, ma'am?" the officer asked. I looked at Lily, who was pleading, and Ethan, who was glaring at me with hatred. "Yes," I said. "Felony vandalism. Take her away." Watching the handcuffs click around Lily's wrists was the most satisfying thing I'd ever experienced. Afterward, I sat in my private studio. I took off the lanyard with my wholesale badge. It was a symbol of 5 years of hard work. I'd built this business from the ground up, waking up at 3 in the morning every day, standing in freezing refrigerators and negotiating with growers who doubted me because I was a young woman. But my family didn't see my hard work. They saw me as an ATM. Over the years, I'd paid off Ethan's $15,000 debt when his stock investment crashed because my mother, a dramatic and manipulative 55-year-old named Carol, cried and said it would ruin his credit. I'd also secretly paid the mortgage on my parents' house for 5 years because my father, a strict and controlling 58-year-old named Robert, couldn't bear the shame of admitting he was broke. That evening, they pounded on my apartment door. Carol led the charge, her face blotchy and eyes swollen. Robert followed, looking grim. Ethan and Lily were right behind them. "You monster! You had her arrested," Carol screamed as she pushed past me into my living room. I calmly said, "She destroyed my property. She committed a felony." Carol shrieked, "Family gets upset. You don't call the police on family. You've ruined our name." Ethan sneered and showed me a receipt, saying I'd paid Lily's bail with the emergency credit card I'd given my parents. Robert cleared his throat and walked to the window. Then he turned to me and said, "This has gone too far. You're clearly unstable. You've let this flower business go to your head, and now you're hurting people. You're out of control." I retorted, "I'm out of control?" Lily smashed $8,000 worth of orchids because I wouldn't pay for her plastic surgery. Robert snapped, "It's not about the flowers. It's about loyalty. We're going to make some changes." He pulled out a lease transfer agreement for the stall at the market and said I was to sign it over to Ethan. They truly believed my business belonged to them just because I was their daughter. I asked quietly, "You want a stall?" Ethan crossed his arms and said, "We're taking the stall. Sign the paper, Danielle." I picked up the pen and signed the lease transfer form. Then I took out the key to the stall and slid it across the table. Ethan snatched it up, grinning. "Finally, this family is going to have some real leadership," he said. I grabbed my tool bag and told them I was leaving. As I walked out, I felt a strange sense of amusement. They thought owning the stall meant owning the business, but they were wrong. The real asset was the non-transferable wholesale badge, which was in my tool bag. That night, I drove to a small warehouse I'd rented under my name. I logged into the wholesaler system, placed orders, and redirected deliveries. By morning, my warehouse was filled with flowers. Meanwhile, Ethan and Lily were stopped at the auction floor because they didn't have the badge. Hours later, they found me and demanded the badge. I refused and told them the truth. Then I handed Robert an eviction notice. The house they lived in was mine. I'd saved it from foreclosure years ago and let them stay rent-free. I closed the warehouse door and went back to work, knowing that I'd finally broken free from the cycle of being exploited by my family.